Welcome to Talk Tuesday, a series dedicated to empowering youth and families. This series is brought to you by SEPS Foundation, Inc., where advocacy meets education for the betterment of young minds. Each month, we explore meaningful topics designed to inspire growth, spark creativity, and equip our listeners with tools they need to thrive. I'm Anastasia Erstash, your host and marketing team lead here at SEPS Foundation. This month, we're diving into a topic that truly sits at the heart of who we are, celebrating family and the importance of strong relationships. Family isn't just about who you share a home with, it's about who you share your life with. It's the people who support you, guide, challenge, and stand beside you through every season. Whether it's your relatives, your chosen family, your friends, or your mentors, these relationships help shape your identity, your confidence, and your future. And in a world that moves so fast, we're constantly pulled in different directions. It's easy to take these connections for granted. But this month, we're choosing to slow down, be intentional, and really reflect on the relationships that ground us and lift us up. Throughout this series, we'll explore how to communicate better, show appreciation more often, set healthy boundaries, and build relationships rooted in trust, respect, and love. Because when our relationships are strong, we feel stronger. We feel supported, understood, and ready to take on whatever comes our way. So let's lean into these conversations, celebrate the people who matter the most, and learn how to build connections that truly last. Okay, so you guys ready for our questions? Yay. Okay, so first question, what does legacy mean to you personally?
I think to me, legacy is like tradition and kind of like something that's been brought up from many generations of like just parents and, just like
Okay, okay. What about you, Lamar?
I feel like legacy is kind of like building like the family and the dynamic that we have and like all the successes the family have been building off that throughout the generations.
Okay. I like that. I also agree. There's nothing more to add when it comes to the meaning of legacy with your family. What a follow-up question would be, we live in a world where legacy is used to wear and tear us, especially when we're in traditions. So when we hear about our ancestors or our past relatives succeeding in such a hierarchy, we should follow in their footsteps when we aren't really in the footsteps that we want to, or actually, we're not in the footsteps that we don't want to be in because of them, if that makes sense. So, because of the pressure that a lot of kids go through, because their families want to follow the footsteps that their relatives have been through, how do you talk to a child who faces that? And also, how do you navigate telling a parent that it's okay when it comes to a child not following a family legacy?
That's a deep follow-up. I want to start with answering the first question about what does legacy mean to me. When I hear the word, I think about the work, the work I need to put in to leave the legacy behind. I think about everything that I want to do, the impact I want to leave behind, and I just feel and hear action. Like what is it that I'm going to do? What work am I going to put in to leave something behind so that I do have an impact while I'm here and it stays behind, for people to remember me by, and to be proud to be able to say I knew her and I believed in the work that she did. I believe in what she left behind. A lot of people think about the work that people do leave behind, which is what primarily came to thought. But I think about the legacies that people left behind. Like, for example, my mom passed away. She's not known for an entrepreneur. She's not known for, having her name on a plaque somewhere of all the things that she did out there in the world. Her legacy was the impact she had on the people that she touched, how she
Mm,
made them feel. Everybody was their daughter or son or her grandson or granddaughter. So
yeah.
she always felt like home to everybody. So that's a part of the legacy that I'm like, okay, I'm not my mom, but I would love to channel some of her, in me, and be able to pass that on because it meant so much to me and so many people.
Mm,
Um, the follow-up questions you had, I really feel for the those that are coming up and that feel the pressure of, oh, there's generations of doctors, generations of cops, generations of this, and I have to follow in that, and they don't feel that they have the freedom to be their own person and to set their own path. And
mm,
so as the youth, I would really love to hear you all speak on that, because my heart goes out to you to not, if you are going through that, to know that to have that feeling of, I can't just come in the world and be me and figure out who I genuinely am without the influences of so many other people before me. I think they set a great foundation for you to step on, but to not have that freedom to just figure out who you are, that's I hate that for those that are going through it. So I would love to
yeah.
hear what your thoughts are about that. And if you'd be candid enough to share your own experiences about it.
I feel like when it comes to that, especially when it comes to those kind of pressures, like families that bring that pressure is like, I feel like if you force a kid and you instill certain things in them young, they're going to follow in that, especially when it comes to legacy. Because like so many families believe so deeply in, okay, if I did this, you have to do it too. But like not all of us are the same. There's going to be differences in family lines, especially when it comes to that. Because like everybody's their own person. You don't have two of the exact same person. Especially when it comes to like a mother and son. Yes, they're going to be similar, but they're not the same. They're not going to have the same
Mm,
skill set. And the child should not be confined to just one thing,
mm,
especially when it comes to career paths, because like let's think about that. A child can have similar passageways as their
mm,
mother. And they
mhm.
have similar skills. They're not going to have that same mindset as their mother, and they're not going to have the same opportunities. So
Right,
maybe they might end up having a different skill set and a different career path.
right.
So that legacy pressure is like, oh, you have to be this, oh, you have to be that. That's wrong because we should be able to have the freedom to take a different path if we want to and kind of experiment to know what we actually want to do.
Mm, clock that. Yes. Mhm.
I wanted to speak on my personal experience with that. From my mom, I'm currently in college right now, pursuing my master's degree. But I'm gonna tell you right now, my mom told me from first grade, hey, I already know what college you're going to. So stuff like that, I feel personally that let's just say there is like generations of like doctors, right? I feel like a good strategy would be like instead of like telling your child, okay, you got to be a doctor or else you're a failure. I feel like maybe like just introduce them, maybe like an anatomy course or maybe
Mm,
like something, maybe subtly just smooth them into that area. And if they like it
yes.
themselves, they'll latch on to it and continue it on their own.
I agree. I agree. I think both statements are very true, especially when we are talking about careers and colleges. There's so much peer pressure, especially for the younger children that are in middle school transitioning to high school or high school transitioning into adulthood. The pressure of wanting to maintain at least a degree, whether it's one of the most prestigious degrees. Parents maintain that you have to make sure that you get it. And I think we live in a world where minorities are hit by this society where you have to be above than the rest. Because if you're not above than the rest, then you won't make it. There's a saying for us where you have to work twice as hard to get half of what they have. So that's something that I've always thought in the back of my head. So I never try to make a legacy much of a degree or much of a career. It's just more of who you are as a person. Were you a caring, loving, kind? Just like how Cassandra said, her mother was a very caring spirit. are you going to continue following your mother's legacy by being that caring spirit? So I agree. Those were great, guys. Hi, Orlando. Okay, next question. So, what new traditions can today's generation create? Since we're talking about legacies and how some people want to get rid of legacies, are there any new traditions that you guys feel like we can create?
I feel like being the first generation, especially when it comes to like family, to actually like ask the questions, being able to communicate well with the older generations, not only the older generations, but like our family members in the same generation, being able to come together and like learn off of each other and like take off of each other so we can all like benefit as a family and not only impact our legacy when it comes to communication, and actually like being able to have those conversations freely with all of our family, but having the conversations to build off those skills and to have those experiences in the back of our mind for when we actually go in the real world and experience those things for ourselves, we actually have like a basis to go off of.
Mm,
I think something similar, like with family, they could, like, the new generation could kind of find better ways to go about situations. Like the parents can use better punishments instead of just going straight to like, because I
mm,
know back then it was like kind of like abuse and stuff like that. Like it was more common than now, and I think the new generation could change that.
yeah.
And communication, like he said, could definitely be like a big part of it.
Mm, I agree. Yeah, go ahead.
I feel like a new tradition could be celebrating small wins. I feel like big
Mm,
wins are so, birthday, graduation, but I feel
yeah,
like, sometimes just another year or an exam or, something.
100%. I agree. Um, I feel so what I'm hearing is mental a lot of mental health work needs to be done with this generation. That's something that we can create. Well, luckily, this organization has multiple workshops where we can work on our mental health as individuals and as a family. Okay. So if you go on our website, you go on Retain Your Brain Survivor Program, Together We Can, we have multiple. I really like what you said when it came to celebrating small wins. There is this trend on TikTok. I don't know if you guys seen it, where you have a little cake and you have a little sticky note and you put in your little wins, and it could be like, yeah, I passed an exam or I did a good job on a project. Those type of things help you so much, and it gives you what do you call it? It's like a dose of dopamine. So wonderful effect. So,
There's a tradition that I didn't think about it till I heard you guys talking today. There's something that I do with my kids, and I was just like, well, maybe that's a tradition in and of itself. Like growing up, you just hear questions like, oh, how was your day? Or like, how was school? But there's no real pause and follow up to like dive in deeper on what the day was like and what did you do? Or even how did you feel when that happened? Those type of questions. And so I noticed that I'm big on that as far as asking the kids those questions, but it shocks me every time they ask me. And then when I was hearing you guys talk about it, I'm like, I think I started that tradition with them because as far as them reciprocating it, it's not enough for me to say, I had a good day. Oh, what happened? What happened at school today? What happened here? They dive in deeper with me and they really want to know if I had a bad day or they realize like, wow, mom, that's been happening a lot, or oh my gosh, that's great, you're having a better day. Like it's very like the conversations are more intentional. um I felt it, but I never thought about what we were doing until we were just talking about traditions. um
mm,
Sometimes we fall into, oh, what do we do for Christmas, what do we do for New Year's, as these big highlight traditional festivities and holidays and things. But sometimes it's the little things that we incorporate, as far as changing the trajectory of how we move as a family, that we can start making it a tradition. And I really hope that what I have with my kids, they'll continue on with their own children, because I think it's healthy dialogue. It's normalizing how I would love
absolutely.
for them to be able to speak, with their families one day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love traditions like that because it brings back nostalgia, like making mom's favorite eggnog and things like that when it comes to holidays. I love it. It brings like happiness into the environment. But speaking of traditions, how can we, or how can traditions evolve with time? I know we say we want to involve communication and celebrating small wins and contribute, or not contributing, but speaking more when it comes to how was your day, but how can that evolve with time? How can we start implementing it every day in our lives?
I feel like starting with consistency.
Okay, Orlando, you had to say it.
My bad. I'm sorry. I didn't mean
You're good.
to. I came in late and I'm being rude. My bad. Um,
Okay.
for one, I think older people have to get with the times. I think it's the other way around as well, but I think let's lead by example.
Mhm.
So something I plan on doing, I have a kid on the way myself actually, and one thing I plan on doing, thank you, and one thing I plan on doing is we're gonna have a family group chat even though we all in the same house, we probably a room apart. I feel like that's the way that kids tend to communicate nowadays, right? Like they could be in the same room. I've seen people sit back to back and send each other TikToks and text messages, and they could literally just turn around and talk, but they prefer to do it through the means of technology. Or I'll be having a conversation with a younger person, and I'll say something mildly funny, and they'd be like, "OMG, LOL," and I'd be like, "Wait." Why'd you do that? You can literally just laugh out loud. You don't have to, but that's my old judgmental brain doing. I gotta come out of that thing. So yeah, starting group chats with your family, and to piggyback off of what y'all said, not just asking how was your day, but what'd you learn? Let's get into that. Let's tap in. Like if the kid learns something really great at school, have them teach it back to you. A,
Mm,
it checks to make sure they actually retain the knowledge, and B, you might learn something. You might just learn some, for instance, what is Common Core math? I'm still trying to figure out what that is because
me
it
too.
seems like a more complicated way to get to a solution that we find so simple. But if I could learn your way, then maybe you'd be willing to learn mine. So
Mm,
again, the gist of it all is getting with the times, understanding that kids are short attention span and they don't have the time to overly explain themselves. They just got this is what happened. It was good. That's it. That's all they care about. So ask
mm,
specific questions, get on their level, not down to their level, on their level, because there's no such thing
mm.
as down. Get on
Right.
their level so everybody can be on equal playing field. So that's my solution.
I love that. Anyone else? I've seen a couple hands. Don't be shy.
But I feel like it all starts with like consistency and kind of building up that, like I said, communication, building up like the trust factor when it comes to that. Because I know a lot of kids when it comes to like building those kind of conversations, like the small talk we were talking about, like building that with parents are very hard now, especially like what you said, Orlando. We gotta kind of bring each other on our level so that we can understand each other like effectively and not like be judgmental
Right.
because I know the judgment on both sides is real.
Right. 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 Mhm.
Yeah. As an older person, realizing that a kid's not going to think to tell you every single move that they make because they don't know that every single move they make is as important to you or to them as it is to you as the adult. So, if they said I'm going by Stacy's house and then they happen to go out for ice cream and then they go to the mall and they come back to Stacy's house, like as long as they got back safe and sound, there's no reason to get mad at the fact that you know what I'm saying? They if they're your child and you gave them any semblance of how to handle themselves, you should trust that they know what they're doing. And I understand we live in a society where you got to kind of but that's why we got GPS in our phones, we got tracking, we got ways of keeping safe. You know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
but if you instill an instinctual safety net in their minds already, if they're your child and you was safe and you did good and you had good communication, then so will they be. So I don't think we should, like I said, communicate, overly communicate if you got to. But there's also a situation where a child can get, or anybody for that matter, can get overstimulated. And I had to learn what that word was. I didn't quite I thought that was like a physical thing, but it's more of a mental thing where it's like, okay,
Mhm.
too much information to take in, I'm gonna shut everything out. And when a child gets like that, even if it's your best, and I say child, I mean anybody from 1 to 17 and even older. Um, when you get overstimulated, you're not taking on any new information, even if the person who's telling you the information has the best intentions in the world. And the older person has to recognize, okay, he or she is not hearing this right now. Let me give them their space. Let me give them their time. Let them go hang out with their friends who know their lingo and know their level. And when they come back, then they can be like, okay, I've had my mental break. We can begin this. We can rehab this conversation. So just
Right.
noticing, realistically noticing how these kids act, because some of their traits are going to come directly from you, but a lot of others they're going to learn from everywhere else. So just recognizing that each kid has their own personality, that this it's not cookie cutter. You know what I'm saying? How you would have handled something in the
Right.
1900s is not the way that they're going to handle it in the big 2000s. You feel what I'm saying? Feel what I'm saying? So, yeah. All right, I'm going on mute again.
That's beautiful. Is it pronounced Kani?
Cinque.
Cinque, that's what it
Yes.
was. Go ahead, Cinque.
So traditions are basically like generational habits, right? So I do feel like it's good to get the habit down yourself, so you can pass it on to the next generation. And to piggyback off of what Orlando said, I definitely feel like communication with the youth or your child is like actually transparent communication is very important. When they tell you about their day, I also feel like latching on to stuff that they may repeat or that they may are passionate about. They tell you that they, I don't know, play the instrument and maybe have violin lessons later on, or they keep saying that, or they keep saying they go to the park with their friends, give them swimming lessons, like something like that, like, latching on. Also, I feel like, for like older figures or like parents or mentor figures, um, try to impart like wisdom instead of better judgment because they're like
Mm,
not the same. I feel like sometimes older people think, oh, okay, this is what I would have did. This is the better choice instead of just imparting like wisdom, like.
right. I agree. Um, and to go back to what Lamar said, trust is very important when we create these traditions, on both standpoints. But what happens when those traditions are lost? How do we regain them back? Let's say something big happened, let's say an argument, a really big fallout between you and the child or the family. How do we regain these traditions to become close again with that trust broken and communication?
I think remembering like why you did it in the first place and like the benefits that come from having that tradition and also communicating that and reminding whoever else is involved why you did this in the first place and like why we should keep doing it and
Okay. What's the best way to like approach the conversation? Because those conversations are usually so hard to be like, hey, let's bring that back. They're like, I'm not in the mood. Like, how do we bring that up without, you know, being so awkward? Yeah, go ahead.
I feel like you can't tiptoe around it, but I also feel like there's
Mhm.
a balance. You cannot tiptoe around how you convey your emotions to someone, but also not trampling on their emotions. So, it has to be a balance.
I agree. I agree.
But it also can't be awkward because if either of you don't say what you really mean, then there can't be any understanding.
Mm, I agree. I feel like, yeah, like you said, Sinkei, there is no way around it. You can't piggyback, but you also can't be quick. You have to read the room, from both the child and the parent's perspective. Like, okay, are they ready to speak? And even going back to what Orlando said, sometimes you have to let your child talk to their friends because they can understand. Like, having, I'll say with me and my mom's standpoint, I have to teach her lingo now. So it took me a minute to teach her T, clock it, girl, queen, because she was like, that is disrespectful. But once we got past the tradition, okay, the original tradition, she understood that. And when things got broken, like we had an argument, and I would go back and be like, girl, it would go right back to that original tradition. So I have to go back and talk to my friends. She'll have to go talk to her friends, and then we could come back and bring that tradition again of us having that lingo because that is how we bond better. And that's where our trust gets stronger. So, yes, definitely
Want to
understand.
piggyback on that. That was very good. Orlando, I couldn't unmute when you were speaking earlier, so I felt like I missed that window, but hun, you brought it right back just now. I was like, yes. So Orlando, when you were talking about meeting your child, at their level, not, you're not going down to their level or anything, just meeting them at their level. It reminded me of how many times my kids are around me and they're using these terms and I'm like, wait, what? What does that mean? Mom, this is what it means and this is how you use it. They love it when I flip it back on them a day or two later and I use it correctly. They be like, oh, mom, you did that or whatever. And I feel like to communicate with them, it's a lot easier when I am at their level, when I'm showing them that I care enough to understand what they're saying and how they're saying it, and to speak their language, to communicate with them the way that they naturally communicate. I don't think I would get too far if I forced them to use the words that I use or speak proper or stop using those words. You guys are making, just talking down on how they choose to communicate. Orlando, earlier when you mentioned about being in the same room and texting each other and doing all of that, me and my kids, we do that all the time. And if we're staying connected by digitally doing it, which is how they naturally communicate, I'm all for it. We're all in our rooms and we're having a whole conversation in bed in our own rooms. And I'd rather that instead of us being in our rooms in silence, no communication. And so there's still a togetherness, there's still a unity, a connection, and however way we need to do it to stay connected, that's just what we have to do. And as far as building up the traditions and keeping that going, sometimes a tradition can go left because of what has happened, right? And it could be a trigger to whomever it harmed. And sometimes as parents, we have to decide that, hey, we're not going to be able to maintain that. Um, we're not going to be able to maintain that tradition the way that it was. We might need to tweak it or just create a new tradition because the last one might be triggering or, depending on how bad or how far and left things went as it related to that tradition. So flexibility is very important for all involved. Because you want the tradition to not be forced. You want it to be enjoyable. You want it to be a legacy. You want it for everyone to partake in it and feel comfortable in doing so.
100%.
Yeah, I really like what you touched on, especially because typically with parents and with their children, they tend to underestimate their cultural literacy because we live in different time periods and it's hard for us to keep up because we all have different priorities. So we're not going to be at the same level because we're at different places in life. We have different goals, we have different jobs and everything. But I think the best way to reach them is try to be their friend first because even if though it is our job to be parents, sometimes that's the best way to get through to them, to show them that we're trying to be on their level, that we're trying to understand it from their point of view and look from the outside in instead of it being the other way around, because these are the people that we're trying to interact with.
I like that perspective.
I would also say traditions are great. Traditions have gotten us far, but even the word traditions it just sounds so old. This is
Oh my
coming from
gosh,
an old
yes.
person. So I say we start new traditions because the kids weren't there when the tradition began. So they don't even feel like they're a part of it. They just feel like, oh well, I'm just making part for the course. Okay, everybody does this every year or every month or every week. And it's like, okay, I don't even know why we're doing it. So maybe if we start new traditions with the kids, let it be their idea or we come together and collaborate, I think they'd be more invested in said tradition or how you could take something that we've been celebrating for millennia and put a new spin on it with the kids' input. Then they would actually be invested. Like, okay, I can look forward to this now. The other thing
Mm,
the other thing I want to say about the terminologies is kids also have a responsibility to keep us up to date because I was still using the phrase demure 2 weeks ago,
I
and
love that.
the kids was like, no, we don't say that anymore. We don't
Yeah.
don't have me out here looking embarrassed. You have a
Yeah.
responsibility to keep me up to date. So yeah, that's all I want to say about that.
I totally agree because digitally, my mom is 20. So I get
Yeah.
that like a
But
thousand percent.
sometimes I'd be having to get my mom's side eye. But
Well,
it's
like,
sometimes. Only sometimes. But look, she be doing it, but then sometimes I would be like, what are you talking about?
listen,
Because it don't be making sense. But to piggyback off of what Orlando said, I'd even say let's not only build that new tradition, let's go off of the old one and build it into something bigger and newer.
mm,
We have a starting point already. We can kind of build that up, kind of like how we build off those traditions. Let's build off that so we can kind of meet in the middle somewhere. Because I
hmm
know y'all are used to this, but we're used to this. Let's find a common ground and let's like stick to it and let's make that our thing. And we can do that all the way to the next generation. So now not only do we have a tradition that we built off of, we now have a tradition of meeting in the middle, communicating clearly, and like adapting to the new times, especially when it comes to the next generation after ours.
right, right. I agree, especially when it comes from a culture background. Like we all come from different culture backgrounds. So for me, for example, I come from a Caribbean background. So there are a lot of traditions and rules that we have to follow. But with this being a newer generation, I kind of make it more modern. And I say, okay, instead of wanting the man to come into the house and I'm here until I'm 30, how about I move and I become an adult and I become a woman and all of that stuff, and then I'll get the man. And as we progress and as we talked about it as a family, we've understood more of the society that we're in now. But at the same time, it doesn't hurt to stay a child in a parent's home. Okay, you don't have to pay too much bills. So that's an up. So I like that. I definitely really, really, really like that. And Orlando, by the way, congratulations, by the way. I
Thank
can
you,
say that.
thank you, thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
hell yeah. Yeah,
What about you?
I was gonna say to add
Mhm.
to take a tradition and add something to it. It's like a streaming service. How you got Disney, you got Disney Plus. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah,
just so we have Thanksgiving Plus, and Thanksgiving Extra. You know what I'm saying? So we just add on to it. We take some of the old, blend it with some of the new, and come up with something completely original that everybody can look forward to. You know what I mean? So
right.
we're not just giving gifts for the sake of giving gifts.
Hmm.
We can be taught that okay, we're giving gifts because we're doing this because this is Jesus was gifted on this day. So that's the old
Hmm.
tradition. And then the kid can say why they want to give a gift. They don't want to just give it just for the sake of giving it. You know what I mean? Or
Hmm.
receive it for the sake of receiving it. They understand the weight behind it, what it is. You know, this was the first gifts that our Lord and Savior, if you believe in that, received. So now we're the kids understanding why I'm receiving the gift. So
Right,
yeah.
100%. What about you, K?
I also do feel like history is changing or what's taught in history or
Hmm.
what's so traditions in the old time like traditions for older generations and traditions now we may represent them for two different reasons, right? One will be more
Hmm.
traditional, one may be more for aesthetic purposes.
Right.
For an example, for like just a simple example of taking something old and adding something new, um, traditionally, I'm from the South, so we have like the traditional whatever Thanksgiving, but my mom one year was like, you have any recommendations for other foods? So the younger kids, they wanted a vegan option, they didn't want the fried chicken or
Nice.
or a
Yes.
pescatarian option. So, and
Yes.
it was a hit. So.
Cholesterol just high. Hmm.
Yeah.
I agree. I like that. I see where you guys are coming from. And I think to pull back from a parent's perspective, well, I'm not a parent, but I know from speaking to my mom about it, I know back then when it came to traditions, they just sucked it up and there was no mental health and expressing how you felt with you wanting to create or change the tradition. So they just followed it. So they felt like with our generation, they were saying, okay, well, you just need to follow it because I followed it as well, and what's the harm in doing that? So with us saying like, how about we recreate it? How about we change it up a little? It's a whole new thing because no one's ever done that in our family generation. So with us doing it, it's a whole new thing. So I really do like that. I have to introduce it to my grandma too, because she is on a whole nother level when it comes to traditions. So, oh, sorry, what were you saying, Simke?
I just had to add a little funny story to expound upon that.
Mm,
My mom, for generations, it was like everybody played football. And then I came along and I was just not a football player. And she just didn't know what to do. She was like, what? He doesn't like football. I was like, hey, then she
mhm.
put me in violin lessons. And I was good at that. So she found something.
Right? Whole trajectory changes.
Yeah,
So,
I'm from New Orleans and they do Mardi Gras and I didn't care for it.
mm,
I couldn't understand the concept of putting my hands up for this worthless
beads.
beads and this
Mm,
fake money, and then like I couldn't go to church the next day and praise God with the same hand. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just weird. And you go to church and they say don't praise a
mm,
false idol, but then the week before I'm up here, I just didn't get with it. And also there's a tradition in New Orleans specifically and maybe in other cultures, when people pass away, they do something called the second line. They
mm.
literally throw a parade and they march down the street. And you could just be chilling in the street, just chilling, talking to your friends. All of a sudden, you get swept up in in this parade you didn't ask to be a part of. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And it's all because someone passed away because they like to do that. But yeah, I didn't do any of the tradition. I didn't understand them. I guess I was introverted extrovert,
Mm.
but now I've become an extroverted introvert. I'll explain that on the next show. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. Can't wait to hear it. Okay, so how can teens shape the future of their family story? Since we're talking about changing up our traditions, what would you guys do when you become parents one day? Shape the future. Go ahead, Mateo.
I would, if I were to be a parent and have kids, I would let them open up to me because I want to hear their story. And at this point,
Mm,
I already put in my traditional output. So I think it's important to hear from their side because if it's all about adding on, we don't want to denigrate their abilities or their ideas because they're going to be in our position years from now when we become parents. So it's important
right.
that they lay the foreground for their own traditions so that they could introduce those to their kids so that their kids could come in with new traditions.
Nice. Agree, agree.
I feel, oh, go ahead, Abby.
I would say communication and mutual understanding is like a big thing because that way both sides could try to understand. But of course, me as a parent, like I would hear them all the way out and just see how we could come to like a conclusion that we could both agree on.
Mm,
Like being able to just like actually listen to them as a whole, like wanting them to elaborate, actually having that trust, building that trust factor early, giving them the blueprints to kind of like what the family history is, educating them on the family history, because that's a big part of that, of building that legacy, not only with um current family members, but with future family members, educating them on what their ancestors and what like their other older family members did to get to where they are now, so that they can kind of have that experience there and have those stories not only for their family but for themselves.
mhm.
Like having those conversations, especially early, so that they can understand like why we're here, understand like, okay, this is what I want for you. You can do whatever you want, having that freedom to
Mhm.
choose their own path, whatever they want to do, fully supporting them as a parent. That's what I would want to do.
Right.
I
Go
I,
ahead, Cynthia.
I
Oh,
think this is. Oh, I'm sorry. My bad. My bad.
no, you're fine. You
Uh,
guys can always hop on and join. You
yes,
don't gotta
ma'am. I think
Ask
this
your
is one
mom.
of those areas, ironically, where something old school would apply, and that is
Mm,
the phrase, it takes a village. So
it do.
I feel like if you want the children to eventually be the leaders, I think we should start treating them like leaders now. When I say just not just a parent, auntie, uncle, cousin, relative, all in. When my child succeeds at something, it don't just need to be me congratulating them. It need to be the whole family. Everybody need to come out the woodwork, and they don't have to physically show up. But if I post it on Facebook, it's no reason why I shouldn't have 90 shares within the first hour. Because we all trying to make him or her the new leader. So we all should get behind, for lack of a better term, jump on the bandwagon, right? And make it to be, it's a big deal. It's big or small, no matter what the accomplishment is, make a huge deal about it, right? Because right now it feels like, oh, you're doing too much. That's the phrase y'all like to say. You're doing too much. Well, is there such a thing as doing too much when it comes to your seed, your child, the person that changed your life and is now the new embodiment of you? I don't feel like there's such a thing as doing too much. And I think
Hmm.
the reason why it feels sometimes why you're doing too much is because there's other family members who are just kind of laying around, just vicariously watching, but not congratulating. They're just
Right.
what I call it, not stalking. There's a word y'all use, man, when you're talking about just you look at somebody's page, but you don't interact. You don't like, you don't share, you
Stalking.
don't.
You're
Okay,
like peeping your,
that's
yeah,
the phrase. Like people do that with people's lives. It's not
right.
just on social media, it's for real. People be real successful. Their kid graduated, they're really good at sports, they're doing music, they're into computers, they're doing whatever, and nobody wants to, they don't want to be the first one to say anything. They're waiting for the group to say something and we all jump in. So I think we should all let the village should raise the,
1000%.
yes, ma'am.
1000%. And before we wrap off, I know Sinkay, you wanted to add your little part. So go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to add that I feel though I was a parent, I would promote my child's, I think I would promote even the non-traditional avenues of growth, right? So a
Hmm.
lot of parents, college, you gotta go to college, which is great, right? That is a great route, but I feel like it's not the only route. Some kids are creatives, or some kids, you know, might want to do their own thing, or go into the military, do a trade. There's different avenues, so I would definitely promote that, like whatever their passion is. Also, to piggyback off of Lamar, I do feel like why is definitely important. A lot of parents say, do this. They don't tell you why. So,
Hmm.
why sometimes can change the whole perspective. Because at least, even if you don't agree, at least you know, like why there's a bigger reason behind what you're doing besides in order.
Yeah, it
Yes,
brings
at
like
least they
communication
express
and
themselves.
understanding on that, whatever like we want them to do, so they actually get it.
Definitely, definitely. This was such a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful podcast. You guys were amazing with the questions. I got stuck on a couple, I'm not gonna lie. But before we wrap up today's conversation, I really don't want to. We want to take a moment to highlight the voices of the young leaders who are putting these ideas into action in powerful ways. So, this month we've been talking about family, which also means to feel connected, supported, and understood. And one thing that we know is strong when it comes to relationships, it doesn't just happen, but they're built with intention, care, and real conversations. So, our YPA ambassadors, or youth program ambassadors, are leading the way by creating spaces where those conversations can happen. Spaces are centered around the connection, healing, and growth. So now we're going to pass it over to one of our incredible youth program ambassadors to share what they've been working on and how you can take your family and get involved. Take it away.
Hey, hi everyone. I'm Abby, a youth program ambassador with Steps Foundation, and I want you to really think about this. When we talk about healing relationships, building stronger families, and creating a positive legacy, we can't ignore one thing. Mental health is at the center of it all. How we handle conflict, how we communicate, and how we show up for the people we love, it all starts within. And while our mental health initiative, the Green Space Virtual Panel, was a powerful moment for connection and conversation, the work doesn't stop there, and neither does your growth. What we started there is something we want to continue all summer long, because growth doesn't happen in one event. It happens when you stay engaged, stay open, and keep showing up. So here's what we want you to do. Keep an eye out for our upcoming summer events and programs. We're creating spaces where teams can build confidence and leadership skills, families can strengthen communication and connection, and young people can explore real conversations around mental health, identity, and growth. We don't want you to miss it. To the parents listening, this is your invitation too. Encourage your teens to get involved, show up, and step into spaces that are designed to help them grow, connect, and lead. And if you're ready to keep growing, here's what's coming up. On May 31st from 6 to 8 p.m., we have the Skate Reflections fundraiser, which is a space to have fun, reflect, and connect with others in a positive environment. Your voice matters, your growth matters, and your mental health matters. So take that step. Be part of the conversation. Register for all events at www.stepsfoundation.org/events.
As we wrap up this month's conversation on celebrating family, we want to leave you with this. Family isn't about getting everything right. It's about being there. It's about showing up with love, even on the hard days. It's about choosing to stay connected, even when it's easier to pull away. The relationships we build, nurture, and invest in today become the foundation of who we are tomorrow. This month, we talked about what makes family strong, how to bridge differences, how to heal through conflict, and how traditions and values shape our legacy. And through it all, one truth remains: the love, support, and connection we create within our families have the power to shape generations. So take a moment to appreciate the people who stand beside you. Reach out, say thank you, start the conversation, most importantly, because the smallest moments of connection often become the biggest memories. And keep in mind, family isn't just about something you're born into, it's something you help build every single day. Closing this out, I'm Anastasia Erstash, and it's been an honor sharing this journey with you guys. Thank you for being part of Talk Tuesday this month. And remember, the power of positivity is always within you. Until next time, stay strong, stay curious, stay true to yourself, inspired, empowered, and keep leading the way. Bye.